Hi everyone, and welcome to another segment of the Just Bernard Show live here on the GIC.org and of course on YouTube. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you all for making this possible. Your contributions have given us the possibility to expand our production abilities, and this is a part of it. Anyway, today's show is basically going to be answering a lot of questions that I have been receiving. Many of you write me daily, and I apologize for not returning many of those emails, but please understand I do receive usually a couple hundred a day. But I do try to read every single one of them. And the consensus, I feel, from my observations of, reading and going around the internet and around the different sites that are involved with what we do, is that there seems to be, or there is, as we say, a global awakening happening. And a lot of people are very concerned with what's happening to them. One of the questions that I get very often is what the F is happening to me. And it also seems to be that one of the most visited web pages that we do have is a page on the GIC.org that explains the symptoms of awakening. Now, the awakening process is very different for everybody. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in a few minutes, but the first thing I do want to say is that there are a lot of different, we talked about symptoms in the past, and some of those symptoms might be restlessness, irritability, inability to sleep, hot flashes, cold flashes, and whatnot. Now, this doesn't mean that that's the reason why you're having these symptoms. The first thing that we need to ask ourselves and to be honest about is, is it anything else? Is there a health condition? Is it menopause? Is it because of an addiction? Are you a heavy drinker? Are you a heavy smoker? Are you a heavy caffeine addict? All of these things are a part of your physiology, which may be contributing to some of these symptoms. I kind of take it for granted when I do speak, and when I do speak about these types of things, that I'm referring to someone who is not addicted to drugs, someone who's not, including painkillers or medications, someone who's not taking psychiatric drugs, someone who's not a junk food addict. All of these things play into attacking our central nervous system. So again, when I speak about the symptoms of awakening, I'm speaking of for lack of a better term, a normal, healthy person who doesn't really eat poorly or doesn't or isn't addicted to drugs or anything like that. So with that being said, again, going right back to the question of what is happening to me, I can only share with you what I know as far as what's been happening to me myself. My awakening process started many, many years ago. As a matter of fact, I can probably say it's been since the day I entered the earth, but I myself had to go through some addiction problems, some psychiatric medication in my 20s and whatnot. And of course, I'm not a part of any of that anymore. However, I think that the whole misunderstanding of the awakening within our world today is being medicated by parents that don't know any better. We have our indigo children, we have our rainbow children, our crystals, our star seeds, our light workers, and of course, the reincarnation of other witches and pagans and other magical type of people seems to be, I guess nobody really wants to be honest about what's happening to their children. And so in turn, we start getting medicated and we get pushed drugs, and of course society has really nasty food out there and whatnot. And so sometimes the awakening process can be very tumultuous, as it was for me. Now, with that aside, A lot of these symptoms, what's happening to you? Okay, I'm going to go back to the initial question of what is happening to you is that, and I don't want to get too scientific about it, I don't want to get too metaphysical about it, I'll stick into the philosophical aspects of it. But it's fair to say that our planet is moving through and is moving into the galactic center, or the space, or space, outer space, whatever you wish to call it, is filled with different electrical magnetic frequencies and impulses, not to mention any star beings or angels, if that's what you wish to call them, or gods, goddesses, whatnot, that are aiding the process of humanity in this awakening. So what's happening now is that our body seems to naturally be evolving. It's fair to say that, we spoke of it in our last radio show with Free Spirit about the DNA, the junk DNA is starting to be awakened. All this talk about the next step in human evolution, this is the next step in human evolution. It's where we become a little bit more sensitive. I find that I myself am very, very sensitive. I take verbal attacks very personally. Yes, I do get hate mail, unfortunately, even though not much, but there are a lot of aggressive people out there that feel that they can say whatever they want on the internet, which we really, hopefully one day that will stop very soon. But yet, the whole idea that we're starting to feel, I guess is the point I'm trying to make, is that we're feeling more, we're being more sensitive, our emotions, we're more aware of our emotions, we're more aware of the energy and the motive behind the words that people are using. A very good example is, you can tell when you're watching a TV show or listening to a radio show or something, if they're being sincere. A lot of, especially the younger generation now, is very aware of what is real and what's fake. We had this process in the 60s, 70s, and 80s where, my youth generation was like, well, that's a bunch of baloney, or they're fake, or they're phony, or whatnot. But now it seems to have been elevated, that much more. And then if you put politics and government and all into the equation, there's a lot of resistance to that type of authority now. So a lot of the things that we're seeing and what we're starting to deal with now as light workers, starseed, pagan, reincarnated, whatever you want to call it, is that we're feeling that pull. We're feeling torn between wanting to fit in with the general public, wanting to not sound crazy, wanting to please our family, our friends, and what they think we need to be. And what's happening now is that as many of us are beginning to awaken and starting to find that connection to spirit and to source, that we're really starting to listen to our inner guidance system, which we all have. Some call it intuition, some call it a sixth sense. It's real, and you're not going crazy. A lot of us have this, and I guess it has to do with the human behavior dynamic that, we are social beings. We do wish to be a part of a community. We wish to be accepted by that community and whatnot, but we're very lucky now that we do have tools like this, like the internet, to let us know that, it's okay to think out of the box. It's the whole idea of thinking out of the box that creates a better world. What's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Well, it's fair to say that the human paradigm is outgrowing the old paradigm, for lack of a better term, and we're starting to see where the many aspects of our society are just not fitting in anymore. It's just not making sense anymore. If you look back, and I do study all this as a philosopher, and I guess for lack of a better term, a pseudo-sociologist, I like to look at the cultures throughout the ages and whatnot, and what I have seen is a repetition of the same dynamic over and over again, probably since World War II. And I'm not going to get into the whole conspiracy Project Paperclip thing about how they're just basically trying to keep us all in a 50s United States mentality and spread that around the world. But I will say, you hear the same slogans, you're seeing the same patterns and whatnot, and now those of us who are older and coming into our own spiritually, or awakening, if that's what you want to call it, we're seeing that, this is really a load of baloney. And a lot of the younger generation is seeing that it's a lot of baloney. So the one thing I can say, to go back to the initial beginning of this particular discussion, is that, what is happening to you is you're evolving. You're evolving, it's okay. There's really nothing to be afraid of. I will say it's hard, it's not easy. It's like giving birth. Hopefully it's not as painful. I would never know because I don't have that ability. But it can be very painful to strip away those outmoded beliefs and those outmoded ideas of self-identity. Self-identity has a lot to do with the beginning stages of the awakening process and letting go of that image of who you think you are. When you start realizing that you're not who you think you are, that you've been giving your power over to the educational system, the media, your family, your friends, and society in general, and them telling you who you are versus what you're feeling inside, and you have made that decision to pursue what you're feeling inside, which is my suggestion to you by all means, is you're going to start seeing a lot of conflict. You're going to start seeing people calling you crazy. You're going to have social problems with interaction with other people, and maybe even with your partner or your family. And while it is tumultuous in the beginning, things do calm down, and that I can promise you. That whole feeling of, oh my God, I'm losing my life, I'm losing my idealism, I'm losing myself, it kind of goes away once you move into that place of who you are meant to be. Giving up career, giving up job, giving up home, all of these things, all of these changes are just a part of the process. But you'll find that once you've settled in to what you're becoming, and you become the example for others, they begin to respect you. And not only do they respect you, they start coming to you for advice as to, what they should do, because they've been feeling the same thing. And I've got to tell you, I was a, for lack of a better term, Mr. Popularity throughout high school and throughout, the social circles on South Beach and the 80s and 90s and in, South Florida, and running the social circles and whatnot. And they thought I was crazy when I decided to leave everything and start over and start doing what I'm doing now. And, I will say that a lot of the friends that had pulled away from me in the beginning are slowly starting to come back now, and they're saying, wow, he might be onto something there. And so I just want to let you know that if you are feeling that, it's going to be okay. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. What's happening to you, you're evolving. Go with it. Go with it. A lot of times when we are feeling a certain cringing feeling or something, that's your inner guide, your inner voice trying to tell you, you don't need to do this, you don't want to do this. And if you don't want to do it, it would be in your best interest not to. Spirit and divinity, or whatever you wish to call it, is always speaking to us, and it's just a matter of listening and applying the subtle messages that are being given to you. And that happens quite a lot. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to cover several topics today, but the one thing I wanted to share with you, to change course a little bit, maybe not so much, but is the other thing I'm hearing is, what is a light worker? What's a light worker? A lot of people are calling it like fluffy new age. Some people are feeling that they're being born into the world right now. It's similar to the crystal and indigo. Well, you know, I gotta tell you, I have been doing this, well, now publicly for 5 years, but I've been a part of this movement, for lack of a better term, pretty much since my teens. We're talking probably since the mid-'80s. I've been a part of this whole thing, whatever this is. But I've got to tell you, you know, it's anyone. You know, what is a light worker? The question. It's anyone who really is seeing the truth, and this includes the truth movement, the truthers. The truth and the truth movement encapsulates this whole thing to me, and this is only for me. And if you can relate, that's fine. But you know, we had a hippie happy hour a couple of weeks ago here on the GIC, and as I'm watching the videos, like the Vietnam protest videos, and I'm seeing, you know, the culture and the interaction, and not only the hippie culture, but the subcultures within that hippie culture, I have this realization that, you know, we're doing this again now, but on a global level. It's not just San Francisco or you know, or Piccadilly Circus. It's everywhere. It's a global truth awakening, and I guess really that's what I'm trying to say here, is that, you know, truther is not a bad word, light worker is not a bad word, crystal is not a bad word, indigo is not a bad word. They're all the same thing. You know, even the pagan movement of the 80s and 90s, which had gone, you know, pretty big there for a while, and I was a part of that, was leading up to this, and it goes to show you that, you know, society is not stupid. You know, I know there's a lot of truthers out there, or you know, 9/11 truthers, I'll say, that really feel that, you know, American are sheep, that they're idiots, that all they do is watch TV and whatnot. But you know what the reality of it is that if you get these people one-on-one alone and talk to them the way I'm talking to you, you're going to find they're thinking the very same thing you are. You know, I feel that, you know, this whole truth movement, and you will find that I'll probably start using that word more than light worker now, is that, you know, the truth movement may start off as a geopolitical awakening, but as you can see with even people like Alex Jones, who are like, oh, anger, 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 and whatnot, they're starting to awaken to their compassion side. You know, I feel that, you know, yes, waking up geopolitically is definitely an aspect of it, and you can't have one without the other. I have to make that very clear. You cannot have that spiritual awakening without having that political awakening and understanding the control paradigm. They're not separate, they're one and the same. And if we are looking at a oneness of this planet, you have to be aware of both. Yeah, it's not conducive to like harp on the negative aspects of the world, but you must understand them. So, you know, as we have this geopolitical awakening, I think it kind of shakes us up into that whole activist mode. And you know, there's a lot of light worker activists out there. I know that even, well, a great example during the 80s and 90s, I guess the 90s would be fair to say, was Margot Adler, who wrote Drawing Down the Moon, which was a huge, huge book in the pagan movement. And she went on to become an activist and to work for National Public Radio. So, you know, I think it all kind of falls into place, and it always does. We know it does. You know it does, I know it does. Everything really is as it's supposed to be. You know, it's very Taoist of me to say that, but that's how I started off my journey of studying Taoism. And it really is just a part of the whole process. of awakening. You know, we awaken to the corruption, we awaken to the nastiness of the world, but at the same time, as we're waking up to that, why are we waking up to that? We're waking up to it because we're waking up to ourselves. And I think that's the most important aspect of this. It's not acknowledging the corruption. It's acknowledging of who we are, what our potential is as a human society is immeasurable. And as you go further in studying or delving into these topics, you're going to find how amazing the human body is, how amazing human consciousness is, how amazing human beings are. There's a lot of times, especially in the beginning when I started doing the political awakening, because I hadn't really gone through that completely 5 years ago. I had just really jumped into it back in I guess during the Ron Paul Revolution. And I was very angry. I was very, very angry. And I had almost given up hope on humanity. But I found that there were so many people to help me along. There were people who helped me when I was in need of anything, anything, whether it be food, shelter, transportation, fun, leisure, distraction, diversion, it was all there and offered from people who really aren't generally good people, and that's everybody. I can't stress that more, is that people are innately good, loving people. Every single person. I don't care if you're a Jew or from Palestine or from Brazil, or if you're Catholic or Protestant or whatever it is that you feel you're on the other side of the fence with each other. When it comes down to it, you're going to find that people will help. They will help. And I think that's one thing we can't give up hope on. We cannot give up hope on humanity. It's not a good place to be. So I highly recommend that we consider being optimistic at this point. So going back to what is a light worker, what is a truther, who cares about labels? But I got to tell you, the whole truth movement is the truth of self, the truth of corruption, of politics, of the control paradigm, and it's also the truth of the human evolutionary process. So I think that's a very fair definition of that. The other thing I wanted to talk about is fear. I know it's cliche, everyone's always talking about fear. Well, guess what? We all have it. We do. It's just a part of life. We all say, I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to, be a fear monger or, watch all that fear porn that's out there, because God knows there's plenty of it. I get frustrated. But, well, there you go. Good example. Why do I get frustrated from all the fear porn out there? Why do I get frustrated with all the people that like to promote the end of times and the end of the world and the collapse of the economic system and whatnot? And I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but it's about how they say it. They try to get everyone riled up, with all those exclamation points and the rock music at the beginning of their videos, and just you can feel that angst. And I think for me, and this is only for me, and I talk about this a lot in most of my work and most of my video work and blogs and whatnot, is anything that kind of makes you tighten up. Okay, if it makes you cringe or gives you anxiety, you can feel that in your body. You can feel it. That to me is fear. And I know that's a really different concept of what most people are used to hearing from people like myself and others out there that talk on the topic. But for me, when you're in a state, okay, if if it is the case that there are basic two emotions, love and fear, and that all other emotions stem from love and fear, well, what is the physiological, and for those of you that don't know what physiological means, it means the body and how the body works and the systems of the body, blood and muscles and whatnot. But what is the physiological ramifications of love and fear? Well, you can answer this question yourself. If you are in a state of love, or any of the emotions that are associated with love, isn't your body relaxed? Isn't your emotion and your mood elevated? You know, either you're feeling joy or bliss or, you know, whatnot. I feel, now, something funny just popped in my head, so I've got to say this. I think the only time that cringing is okay in love is probably in love making. So yeah, we do tighten our muscles in love making. So a little joke, but yeah, I had to put that in as a footnote. But anything else though, you know, but I will say that even love making is an internal dialogue. It's not coming in from the external. So anytime that something externally makes us cringe or makes us tighten our muscles, you know, that most likely is fear trying to come into our thoughts. Then of course we have our own thoughts that create that cringing. You know, people call it anxiety, people call it fear, you know, whatever. But I want to simplify it by saying that if it makes you cringe, listen to your body. You know, your body is a great, navigator through the emotional world and the energetic world. And I know I'm very big on that topic of the energetic world because it is about energy. It's about the energy that we're releasing into the world. It's about the energy that we're being bombarded with constantly, you know, whether we want to admit it or not. My house right now has Wi-Fi, so of course there's Wi-Fi beaming all over me, you know. We have radio signals, microwaves, and anything. So it's all about energy. But I will say that, you know, if you are sensing, again, I want to reiterate, if it makes you tighten your muscles, it probably is fear. So what I like to do when that starts to happen, and I've got to tell you, I've probably become quite an expert on this because I did have what is called generalized anxiety disorder. I've been diagnosed with panic disorder. I was on Xanax for 20 years practically. And I'm off it now, and I haven't had any anxiety attacks or panic attacks or anything like that. Actually, since I moved to Roanoke, to be honest with you, which has only been a year now. But I guess living in the country really helps. And again, it goes to the external energy. You know, Miami has a very vicious external energy. So, but that's a whole nother story that I'll talk about in full detail with you one day. But what I'm doing now is when I'm getting that fear feeling and I'm getting that sense of cringing or aggravation is a good one. Yeah, I get aggravated all the time. I'm only human. You know, I have a lot of responsibility in the work that I do. So I have to be very aware of that. And the best thing for me to do, and I know it's going to sound cliche, is I walk outside. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter if you're in an office building or in a condominium or in a house or an apartment or whatever. Go to the ground floor and walk outside. Clear your head. I know it sounds cliche, but I've got to tell you, it works. If anything, it gets you out of that mindset or whatever it is. Now, I'm not going to say that we don't have moments in life that are going to cause fear and anxiety. An injury of a loved one or the death of a loved one or anything like that, of course we're going to run the gamut of emotions, and some of those can't and maybe should not be stopped. You know, sometimes we need to let that flow, and I'm not talking about stuffing your emotions down. I'm talking about taking your attention and moving it to something else. You know, we talk about the law of attraction, the law of synchronicity, the law of whatever. There's tons of laws out there. But, you know, if you are focusing on what's aggravating you or what's giving you fear or whatnot, the moment it starts to sneak into your thought pattern, just look at something else, walk away, walk outside. It's wonderful just to be out in nature. And nature does include, believe it or not, the median and the parking lot of your office building. You know, there is life there. There's a little bit of grass. It's not much, but there's life. Go to life. You know, choose life, for lack of a better term, and not to sound cliche. Choose life. But that's one of the many things that I try to do. So, I was thinking about doing a meditation with you all today. And what I'd like to do is really just kind of, I guess maybe like a lesson. And I don't want to do it like a class or anything like that. So let me just say that we're going to do a little meditation right now. And what it's going to be an old one that I do all the time, but it's going to be a little bit differently. I'm hoping that this will help you to find that inner peace, that inner guidance, you know, that inner emotional, you know, clarity and whatnot. Many people talk about, including myself, that meditation is going between the thoughts and then little by little expanding that void. I have a different definition of meditation than most people. To me, meditation is silence and stillness and that connection, that just a void. I call the talking meditations that we normally do, like we will today, more of a contemplation meditation. But you know, they're all good. They're all good, and it does the trick. And so today, let's talk about expanding the thoughts, and I mean expanding that place between the thoughts. So why don't we go ahead and close our eyes, kind of relax, taking a deep breath, filling our bellies, and kind of just do a little scan of your body, relaxing all the muscles, relaxing your feet, your ankles, your knees, your waist, your tummy, your back, your shoulders, your face, your eyes. And at this place, let's start going into our inner eye, our third eye. And what I mean by our third eye, maybe I should call it the mind's eye is a better word. The mind's eye. And look at what you're seeing. You might see dots, you might see lights. But let's begin to move that into a particular direction. Let's begin to move these lights, because that's what I'm seeing, so that's what I'm going to share with you. Let's begin to move these lights from left to right, going across the screen of your eyes. And as they go across the screen of your eyes, you'll see them either speeding up or just going by, little streams of light moving from the left to the right. And as you begin to notice these streams of light, I want you to acknowledge the separation between the beginning and end of each one. As everyone goes by, there's a beginning and a tail and an end. A beginning, a tail, and an end. A beginning, a tail, and an end. And let's begin to kind of slowly slow down the stream. Let's begin to slow down the stream between each light, each beginning, each tail, and each end, until we can see the place between them. And as we find that place between them, let us put ourselves and our consciousness right there in the middle. Right there between the beginning and the end of each light. Into the quiet. Into the void. Into the nothing. No thought. No light. No emotion. No anything. Don't forget to breathe. Let us stay here and for just another moment. Bring our attention back to the nothing, the quiet, the no thing. Bring yourself back slowly to this moment, to this place, to my voice, to where you are, to the now. And begin to look at the world around you right now. Right now. The here, the now. No thoughts buzzing, no fear. Just here and now. I love you guys very, very much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I will see you again next week. This is Bernard Alvarez saying, have a wonderful, blessed week. Stay in the here and now the best you can. Know that it's all going to be okay.